passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on. So Nurov in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. He doesn't qualify as well as he races.
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani, not very far apart at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Haig deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
Say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the loud pedal, and unfortunately he's dropped him all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And it definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is... Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. Is now Pike going to have a go at Werrell? Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still start trouble. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden Miller's back in play.
On to the back end of Phil Jocelyn, so there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's a lot have fun. Yeah, it's all about the entertainment. So I hope everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is been enjoying himself watching. The Burger King machine's off into the grass a little bit there. Is that really bunching up now?
Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
Oh, look at the toss. They haven't got it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such up. He's touched on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry. Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, children of all ages. Welcome into the JPB GT4 Championship Season 2, Round 5, live from Brands Hatch. I am James Parfitt. I'm going to be here guiding you through all the action with, once again, my good friend, Mr. Alex Goldschmidt, who is here with me this evening as well. Don't forget, this evening is sponsored by simracingcommunity.com. Go check them out down in the link below for all your sim racing needs. Let's have a catch up on the standings at the moment. Here in the AM driver standings, Mike Pierce, who is not here tonight, is sunning himself on holiday, is out on front with 266 points. Chris Barnes on 250, Danny Weston on 229 with Torno Oromets on 221. Then you got Stuart Rice in 5th on 208, Rob Williams on 205 in 6th, Stephen Mellis on 201. Then we go down into 8th for Richard White on 144, Chris Evans on 142, and Rachel Hoff on 90. And then we've got Ryan Taylor, Stuart Gibbons, Jason Haddington, Damien Hurst, and Callum Milam. In the team standings, Triple B Racing AMG with Chris Barnes and Rob Williams are out in front on 455, with Triple B Racing AMR on 350. Team Zilla Racing with Danny Weston on 229, with Bonzo with Stefan Mellis on 201. Triple B Racing AMC on 90, and Air Smart Racing 2 on 24. In the pro driver standings, it is Richard Simnor out in front from the AI Race Summaries.com Tracy team on 259, with his teammate Mikey Pollard behind him on 252. Stein Wienemann on 248. Then we've got Tim Perry on 192. Derek Carver in 5th on 160, with Andy Jones in 6th on 160 as well. Arnold Chonier in 7th on 152. Tom Weston in 8th on 141. Adam Hedgecock in 9th on 136, with Ian Manners, Chris Needham, Paddy Faulkner, Gavin Petty, Jordan Malcolm, and Teague Ashburn rounded out the final top 15. In the pro teams, AI Racing Summaries.com Tracy team, Mikey Pollard, Richard Simler out in front by a country mile on 511. And the AI Race Summaries.com Jesse team with Stein Wienemann and Mike Pierce on 426. Altitude Esports on 328. Air Smart Racing on 278. Blade Designs on 118. And AI Racing Summaries.com Lucy team on 175. Then we got Performance Link Esports in 7th. PDR in 8th and 19. X Raps Racing in 9th place. So that is all your current standings at this moment in time. We are just coming to the end of practice before we go into qualifying. Welcome in Phil, welcome in Ria as well. Much love to you here. And is Mikey Pierce here as well? If he is, he's sat somewhere very hot drinking a nice cold beer, enjoying the sun. But let's bring Mr. Goldschmidt into the booth here this evening to discuss Brands Hatch with us. Alex, welcome in, sir.
Hello, everyone, whatever time zone you might be watching in. Good evening, James. Yeah, great to be back. It's the halfway point of the calendar. And from Zandvoort, we get to one of the icons. It's been around since 1950. The same amount of time as Silverstone has been in operation, pretty much. But yeah, I mean, this is a very different challenge. You know, you've got blind crests such as Paddock Hill Bend. You've got some pretty good overtaking opportunities coming down the Brabham Straight into Paddock Hill, whether you decide to go high, wide, and handsome and cut to the inside. Of course, that particular phrase that I've just mentioned, high, wide and handsome, was always used by a man who used to frequent the commentary box and recently passed away not too long ago, Brian Jones, the voice of Brands Hatch. You've also got, like, coming out of Surtees and going through down Pilgrim's Drop into Hawthorne Bend. You know, if you get too wide, that's going to be a squeeze. You get 3 wide, that's going to be three's a crowd, as we've already had. Oh, right, well, that is not what you want to do coming out of Paddock Hill Bend and up the Hailwood Hill, Stein-Wienemann at that point, as we've got qualifying underway. Yeah, I think, we had him winning on home turf in the feature, where he did that great undercut on Mikey Pollard and Mikey Pollard and Richard Simnor in that great battle at his home circuit. But now we're on their turf, so I think Mr. Wienemann has got to climb a big old mountain, and they don't come bigger than here at Brands Hatch.
Absolutely, I fully agree with you. And do you know what? And this might be a controversial decision and a controversial comment.
Here we go.
Because, I do love putting the cat amongst the pigeons earlier on in a broadcast. Why not?
I know that.
So why do you feel Brands Hatch would ever replace Silverstone as the F1 calendar?
Well, considering the fact that it's intermittently been between Brands Hatch and Silverstone, I mean, if anyone might remember when the crowd were in uproar when James Hunt was refused a restart, and the power of the people then decided, yeah, we want James in the race. Well, I think you have to look at the technological advancement of modern day motorsport safety, whereby Brands Hatch is a very narrow, very small track, and I think the current up-to-date Formula One cars would be more than sparking from underneath with those ground effect cars. I've seen some big old incidents. I remember being when Team BMR were run by Warren Scott, and you had like Alan Menu, Jason Plato Colin Turkington in the Passat CCs, and then there was an 8-car pile-up at Paddock Hill Bend on one of the races on the final day of the season. But you know what? I mean, Brands Hatch has had its place in Formula One, but Silverstone is just it is the home of British motorsport. That's why Formula One, MotoGP, and everything else goes there. But Brands Hatch still has its own subtle charm, and it's a great circuit. I mean, it's one of my locals, so I think within an hour and a half drive, I can get to either Brands Hatch or Snap.
Yeah, all right. Don't have to boast about it, us poor Southerners who take 3 hours to get absolutely anywhere, apart from 45 minutes to go to Thruxton. Woohoo! Do love good old Thruxton.
Yeah, and then I can call your bluff on that, because it's 3 bloody hours for me to get to Thruxton as well.
Well, it makes the thing is with you though, young sir, is the fact that you've got motor circuits all around you. I unfortunately have to travel, for quite a while, so I'll take my Thruxton, the fastest racetrack in the UK.
I'm gonna put a controversial point. This is the first time I've ever done this. Then try international travel, good sir. Aha!
Oh.
Then it's kettle fish altogether.
Yeah, I'll happily rack up some flight miles, Alex. You know what I mean? If you ever need a little, if you ever need an assistant to come out, I'll happily come out and keep you company and chat to you in your ear while we're working or whatever, or just a little, suitcase buddy. Sorry, I should say, get my words written out tonight. A little suitcase buddy. If you need, anyone to tip on the way in or out, I'll hold the door and all that for you. If you fancy assistance, I don't mind. I'll help you out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. You keep on telling me that. Keep on saying, squeeze me.
Yeah, well, that it's all on you for keep telling me no, Mr. Goldschmidt, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but then I'd be paying for additional baggage.
I'd like to think myself a little bit more classier than baggage, but if you want to go down that route,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Now Phil across the pond has really rubbed it in. Look, right, okay, we'll get to the chat in just a minute, but let's talk about qualifying, because they're already battling away, coming out of Sterling's. Now, who on earth was that?
That was Williams,
Williams.
Yeah, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, now originally that was Gavin Petty in PDR. And it is Gavin Petty in PDR. So Gavin's back this week. I know his work schedule's a little bit all over the place for Mr. Petty. So unfortunately, he kind of makes random ones. But he's doing a great job at the moment. Sitting in 11th behind Williams. Simnor out in front with Wienemann in second. Pollard in third. Crowther's in the BMW. He's in fourth at the moment. He's doing a good job as well.
Yeah, I think this could be a circuit whereby the dominance of the Porsches that we've had all the way through the opening 4 rounds of the championship might come a bit under threat here by the Mercedes and the BMWs. I mean, especially with Crowther only being just under 7/10 off of Simnor with a 1 minute 30.386. Simnor on a 1:29.712. So we still have a little bit of a meritocracy of Stuttgart's finest, but then Munich and Gaydon also coming along in the mix, with Paddy Faulkner doing a pretty good job in the number 96. He's only 1/100th behind Derek Crowther in all of this. Well, he's not even that. He's 4/1000 slower. So I think this circuit is a really good addition to the calendar. As I said, a lot of elevation changes. You know, going through into Hawthorns, then you got the Derek Minter Straight, Westfield, then the iconic dip through Dingle Dell and into Sheens before the 90 left. These drivers just negotiated at. Oh, and someone's had more than a Danny Juncadella going through that one.
Yeah, Mr.
Deary, deary me.
Yeah, Arnold Chagnon.
Chagnon has just had the biggest code brown. I remember seeing Danny Juncadella's tank slapper going through Sterling's. That is one of the biggest points where if you get it completely wrong on the apex, you're going to run wide, you're going to be on the dust, on the grass, and as Mr. Chagnon just found out, you are going to be around and nearly touching the barriers.
Absolutely. I think that's the thing for Arnold Chagnon. He's going to have to wrap that one up and be a little bit more careful. We got Rhea in YouTube. James's brain is fried by too many conspiracies. Now, I don't really want to go there on that conversation, but let's just say it's been a very interesting conversation over the last two broadcasts with Rhea. I will give a quick reference, but we're not going to cover it again, regarding the moon landings. That's all I'm going to say. So,
okay, right.
Yes.
I'm now going to call out Mr. Phil across the pond, who says it only takes me 15 minutes to get to Donington Park.
Thanks very much, Phil.
Yeah, nice one. Just know how to stick the knife in the back and then twist it a couple of times as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't take me that. It takes me over 3 hours and 10 minutes. So that's nice. Phil, here as well. These drivers haven't got long left. Over the line goes Mikey Pollard. Is he going to improve on third place for him? He does. He goes in the second. 1:29.847. No improvement for Simnor at the moment. We've got Faulkner's over the line. Danny Weston.
Oh, Faulkner! Faulkner's just gone P2.
He has.
And has just become the fourth driver to put in a sub 1 minute 30.
Nice.
That's it. You know what I did say? I did say that these cars could be a little bit of an opportunity for them to break that Porsche meritocracy. Because I think for the last few races when we've had quali and gone straight into the sprint race, we've either had top 4 Porsche, top 5 Porsche, and no one has managed to get into the front row on a genuine qualifying performance. And Paddy Faulkner, for the first time this season, is the first person to do it.
He absolutely is here as well. And he's sitting in second place is old Paddy here with Stein Wiemann sitting behind him on a 1:29. Stein's got 2 greens on the board, 2 yellows, 3 yellows now, unfortunately for him. So no improvements in sectors 1, 3 and 5 here. I'm not entirely sure there is 6 sectors in Brands actually in real life, Alex. I've got a funny feeling iRacing might have just a little bit over the top with sectors here at Brands.
Wiemann goes second. 3.
Yeah, I think it normally is, isn't it? You got the first one down past Graham Hill, second one's off past, is it Derek Minter, and then the third one is at the end, or is that a little bit further on? I think.
I think the first one is coming down out of Graham Hill Bend onto the Cooper Straight.
Yeah.
Then probably Minter, and then on the approach from Sheens to Sterling's. But I might be 100%. Well, I might be 75% wrong, 66% wrong on that.
Are you sure? Because it's gone down a bit here, right? We started 70, 50, 60. Are you sure now?
Well, I can't get my numbers out right. Never trust a commentator with numbers.
No, definitely not.
Especially when they've got a spreadsheet.
Yeah. Phil says...
That's all I'm saying on that one.
Phil says on race days, though, it could take him an hour to get to Donny, considering he's only 15 minutes away.
Oh, well, there you go. Simnor, however, he put in a bit of a perler at the last lap, didn't he? In qualifying there, JP.
Yeah, he definitely did. But here is the grid for race 1. Richard Simnor in first, Mikey Pollard in second, Stein Wieman in third, Paddy Faulkner in fourth, Gavin Petty fifth, Chris Needham sixth, Derek Crowber seventh, alongside Ian Manners, and Tom Weston rounds out the 9th pro place. Then we've got Danny Weston leading the arms with Stuart Gibbons, and Torno Oromets rounds out your top 12. And then beyond that, we got Stuart Rice, Chris Barnes, Robert Williams, Chris Evans, Richard White, Stephen Mellis, Rachel Hull. No, it's not. It's Hoff, isn't it? Rachel Hoff and Arnold Chagnon. Yeah, we got told last week that we were pronouncing it incorrectly. So there we go. We will get it right, I'm sure. Right. Sprint race. 15 minutes. Sets the grid for the 45 here, Alex. Simnor is in a prime spot, right? He seems to, go on, and he won at Zandvoort in the sprint as well. Second in the feature race. He's kind of always there or thereabouts, but it's a tough one, isn't it? Because he wins one, second in another, or he might, like Phillip Island, not in the top 3 in the first race, won the feature race. So for Simnor, is it consistency? Does he need to get consistency? Or do we think that it's just one of them positional things when it comes to the feature race itself?
Well, he's a bit calculating, like Mr. Professor himself, Alain Prost. Used to do that when he was battling for, what ended up being 4 Formula 1 world titles. He would win, he'd either make sure that he had enough points on the board. I think one of the championships that he won, which was against, funnily enough, Niki Lauda, I think he won by half a point. So, yeah, consistency does win you a championship. That's what every motorsport commentator always says. But it's more the case of he probably feels comfortable. He knows that he doesn't have to win every single race. But if you put yourself in the top 3 every single race, apart from when he got taken out in Phillip Island after the incident between Perry and Wieman, on that opening lap, he's now trying to go, well, let's just make sure that quali's good, and then that sets him up for the rest of the evening. Yeah. So by doing that, qualifying is where we see Simnor shining. We did see that obviously tonight, and we've seen that for the majority of the season, where he's been in the top 5, and most of the time it's been on pole position on the front row. So by keeping yourself at the sharp end in qualifying, yes, it does mean that 95% of the time you're going to get a good start. But there's always that niggling 5% where someone goes and throws the Hail Mary, and he gets caught up in the crossfire, and all goes Pete Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the things with racing as well. You're trying to be consistent, but you can sit back and go, well, I'm consistently fast on my own, but then you throw 18 or 19 other cars in the mix, and it's a completely different story at the end of the day. And I think that's one of the things that, sometimes racing drivers, spectators, they all kind of forget that aspect, that you're not on a one-lap quali. You are just throwing it in and racing with 19 other people. And especially around Richard Simnor at the moment, Mikey Pollard, Stein Wieman, all championship challengers. So they've got to be a little bit sensible to get to the end of this race here. We are under this pace lap. We are just coming round the final corner here as well, which is Clark Curve, of course, before we get the race underway. What is Simnor gonna do? He's already gone and bolted. Pollard managed to hold on to second, Wieman in third, Gavin Petty up 1 place in fourth. He's already jumped Paddy Faulkner straight at the beginning there, Petty in the Merc. Then we got the 3 Porsches of AI Race Summaries out in front. Steeman and Pollard trying to go side by side. Faulkner trying to go up the inside here of Gavin Petty. But at the moment here, Alex, everyone away cleanly.
Yeah, Danny Weston going a little bit deep and actually a little bit wide coming through at the top of Druids, as Wieman goes a little bit wide coming out of Graham Hill Bend. It's an off-camber corner, that 90 left. And then they've got this sweeper here at Surtees. So Danny Weston, just keeping it nice and pinned. Tunnel Oromets battling away with the likes of Chris Barnes and Stuart Gibbons. as they make their way down Pilgrim's Drop for the first time. This is where they're really going to pick up a big old rate of speed. They're going to be approaching Hawthorne Bend very, very shortly. The best part of nearly 130 miles an hour. Then you've got to drop it down 2 gears. octMagny goes a little bit wide. Chris Barnes manages to get through on him on the run through into Westfield. Now down the dip into Dingle. Barnes has got around. Barnes has got around, and as he hit the barriers, I think he might have done with the front end.
Yeah, I think Barnes there just got through after octMagny's incident, and then unfortunately for Barnes, he did this over the curb, loosened up the back end of that Mercedes. I think he's managed to hold it, you know, hit the brakes. He did. He kept it out the barrier, but for Chris Barnes, not a great opening. Of course, up in the challenging fight for the AMs at the moment. Crowther's holding back the leading AM in Danny Weston, with Scott Gibbons now climbing all over Toro octMagny. And unfortunately for octMagny here, he's got to kind of get on with it because the other cars are coming. Gibbons is going to challenge him for that second place in the AMs here, Alex, as well. It's going to be a tough 13 minutes for octMagny in that BMW.
It's also going to be a tough 13 minutes for Stein Wienemann, because Gavin Petty is closing in. He's within 0.4 of a second. Paddy Faulkner, in the meantime, has lost a bit of ground that would have been coming out of Graham Hill Bend. Stuart Gibbons is off tonal. octMagny has dropped down the order as well, and there's a Merc with a front bumper missing, I'm afraid, and rear.
I've got a funny feeling they've made contact. octMagny looks like he's already loose. He is. And unfortunately, Gibbo, nowhere to go for Stuart Gibbons there. And that was kind of it, wasn't it? Unfortunately for octMagny. Can't really say a lot on that one, Alex. Unfortunately, he got loose and there was nowhere for anyone to go. And he was just sat there.
Yeah, bit of a battle here between Stuart Rice and Tom Weston as they make their way through into Westfield. Stefan Mellis has made up 3 positions from 18th on the grid. They don't try and thread the eye of the needle on the run through Dingledale into Sheen Curve, please, good sir. But Gibbons loses. Mellis was keeping it around the outside of Gibbons. Gibbons takes the place back now into Sterling's. Gibbons runs very, very wide and cuts across the front of Mellis on the redress. But Mellis has got the headlights ablaze, flashing up the inside through Clearways and into Clark Curve. The Merc is going to go wide again. Mellis is going to pull to the wall on the right-hand side, keep it as tight as he can to get the inside run for Paddock Hill Bend as we're on to lap number 3. Mellis to the inside. Gibbons to the outside, trying to get the undercut. Mellis runs wide. Into the gravel goes McLaren's sideways.
Yeah, Richard White said thank you very much. Gibbons has said thank you as well. Paddy Faulkner is under attack from Stein Wienemann here as well. They did just briefly swap positions once more. And we've also got the Williams, Rice and Chardonnay battle further down at the moment. But Stein Wienemann climbing all over the back of Paddy Faulkner. Faulkner went past. And then Wiemann's trying to come back at him as well. On that run now. Down into Hawthorne, these guys go. The Aston Martin and the Porsche. Who's going to be the strongest? Is it a Porsche dominant track, Alex? Or are we going to see the Merc and Aston Martin, a Petty and Faulkner, mix it up a little bit?
Yeah, it seems like Petty and Faulkner have decided to throw caution to the wind here in this sprint race. As Wienemann getting very, very close to the back bumper of the number 96 Aston Martin. Now they head through into Sterling's before the run through Clearways underneath the Yokohama Advan Bridge, and then heading into the final corner here at Clark Curve, down from 5th gear into 4th, turn it in, bit more curb taken by Faulkner. Wienemann decides to shift down to 3rd and then re-engage the traction on the back axle. Now they're going to be climbing over the crest into Paddock Hill Bend, down to 4th for Wienemann, down to 3rd. Is he going to keep it nice and tidy? Just a little bit of a slight touch with the sidewalls on the left-hand side, but into Druids, I think, he was very late on the brakes, was Wienemann. But Faulkner was able to close them off very, very convincingly there, using the defensive racing line.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing for Wienemann as well. He kind of uses that third just as a little bit of a comfort to get that Porsche settled going off through Paddock Hill. So a great job from him. Stuart Rice looks like he's lost a bunch of positions to Arnaud Chardonnay and Chris Evans. Evans has got about 1.6 seconds up the road to Williams, 1.2 behind. Wienemann, however, could be under pressure here. Chris Needham. Needham's closing up in that Porsche. He's got Manners, Crowther and Weston pulling him along as well. As you can see, Needham just goes off the side of the circuit. Manners just goes about to go slip up the inside down into Westfield, dropping down into Dingledale. This blind exit up the hill here. You point, hope and shoot. There you go, keeping it off the grass on the left hand side. Otherwise you're not stopping that going down into Sterling's. It's a tough corner, that one, Alex, with Dingledale. It's a famous corner and it's caused some dramas.
Yeah, let me refresh my memory. Intelligent Money British GT Championship last year. Mercedes and McLaren came together, and McLaren was not better off. It was actually worse off because it ended up in the barriers as a direct correlation. But we go back to the battle between Veerman and Faulkner. This is the battle for P4 overall. Just under 4/10 separate them as they come up the Hailwood Hill into Druids. Tighter line again taken by Faulkner, who will run a little bit wider coming out of the apex. And then through into Graham Hill Bend. Sideways from Faulkner, who's lost the back end, and Veerman collects the left front as a direct result. And Veerman has lost all that time. Now look who's behind him. There's Ian Manners, Chris Needham, Derek Crowther and Danny Weston.
Yeah, poor old Veerman there as well. We've seen it before with Automats and Gibbons. There was just nowhere for him to go on lap 5. Unfortunately, into Graham Hill. Paddy Faulkner got it wrong. That back end of that Aston Martin went loose. That unfortunately brought everybody into play. Veerman come around the corner. Paddy Faulkner is there, and that was contact. It does look like, mind you, that Veerman has got away with this one, Alex. He hasn't got, saying that, and he goes and runs wide coming out of Westfield. So maybe he has got a little bit of damage. Jump on board and see what his steering's up to here as well. Oh, he's slightly left hand down, isn't he? Just ever so slightly.
It was the right front that collected Paddy Faulkner's car. So Faulkner did an automats from earlier on in the race, but luckily enough that Veerman did not lose the front bumper, unlike what we saw earlier on with one of the Mercs. I'm trying to remember who that was. That was Stuart Gibbons in the 47. So Veerman is hemorrhaging time. He's now 3.3 seconds behind Gavin Petty, who's about 3.3 seconds in his own right. But then you look at the likes of Manners, Needham and Crowther and Weston, and they are all covered by about probably the best part of nearly 2 seconds. So Veerman now is really coming under the kibosh. His 4th place is under threat, and he's off track again. You know, he's making slight mistakes, but he's having to drive with a damaged vehicle, and that is what shows the mettle of some of these drivers. You know, they'll have the skill set, they'll have the wherewithal, and the common sense to go, right, okay, I've got a problem, it's left hand down. I need to turn a bit more into the rights, I need to turn a little bit less into the left-handers. Yeah. And that will also impair his lap times. I mean, I'm looking, his last lap was a 1:32.1. Gavin Petty was 2 seconds quicker than him.
Yeah, Petty's doing a great job for PDR in that Merc, of course. Veerman is, well, we know the slight damage on that car. He is literally between him and Danny Weston. It's 1.7 seconds. So there's Veerman at the bottom of your screen. There is Weston now being caught up by his brother, Tom Weston, but at Performance League Esports. Stuart Gibbons. Oh!
That's not how you... Well, they do say it takes 2 to tango, don't they, James?
Yeah, but I didn't realise they were going to tango together.
Synchronised sideways, heading in the run towards Sterling's.
Yeah, not sure if that was Gibbons. Oh, he had a lot more speed there, didn't he?
That was definitely a yeet, in my honest opinion. That was a real shame. I mean, you know what? I mean, considering the fact that he's had no front bumper for most of the race, Stuart Gibbons has done a great job. Stefan Mellis, who went off earlier on, coming out of Paddock Hill Bend, has got Tano Oromets closing in. Derek Crowther, I have to say, I have to give him props. I mean, he did qualify a little bit higher up than 7th, but he is still running on genuine pace. And looking at the lap times, Veerman a 30.393, Manners a mid to slightly high 30.4, Needham high 30.2, Crowther high 30.1. So Crowther is the quickest of everyone from 4th to 8th.
And he's done a great job, to be honest. He's back in the comfort zone of his BMW. I think that's the thing with Derek Crowther. Took the car at the beginning of the season and then said, look, mate, you know, you're all right if I change? And I said, yeah, that's fine. And he did change back into that BMW that he is more comfortable in, I presume, but he has got the arm of Danny Weston closing in on that Merc, who is pulling his brother along. You can see the best lap times on the left-hand side. Richard Sinart, currently the fastest man on the circuit, with a 1:29.573. Pollard sitting in behind him there. So there's some nice little times on the board. Gainers and losers so far, as you can see. Veman down 1, Faulkner down 6, Gibbons down 9. So there's some big losses for guys in the grid and in the race at the moment, but everybody currently still racing nice and cleanly to a degree, I think. Silly mistakes, Alex, that has led and brought in others. I think that's the problem.
Yeah, Veman's got to watch himself because Manners is closing on him quicker than a bad habit on a good day. Gap between them is about 3.5 tenths of a second, and now come out of Surtees and heading down Pilgrim's Drop. Hopefully the talk of the Mercedes as we ride on board with Ian Manners. This is now for 4th position overall into Hawthorns. Then the short run down the Derek Minter Straight before the right-hander here at Westfield. And then it's down the dip. And if Veman does not go off, well, he nearly did just then. He kept 2 wheels within the white lines here on the tarmac. Then it's the run into Sheen Curve. Bit more apex taken there by Manners, heading into Stirling's. Hard on the brakes, you're going to be down to around about 2nd gear. And I think it's just the case that what Manners is trying to do is just keep Veman on edge. That's the big thing. If he can do that, okay, yes, we've got, just under 3 minutes to go. But if he keeps that pressure on, if he's lapping quicker than Veman is going to get worried. And I'm looking at lap times now. They cross the stripe. That time Manners was slightly slower, but he closes up under braking going into Paddock Hill Bend. Which Veman nearly came across earlier on in the race, into Druids, hard on the brakes. Manners is a little bit close, he's about a car length and a half behind Veman, but Veman gets the traction. That's customary with these Porsche 718 Cayman GT4s, especially at a tight, slow, 2nd gear corners is when the Porsche really exploits its traction, whereas the Merc has a little bit, not so much of a stumble, but it's a little bit more, less compliant when you hit the loud pedal.
You can see lap times down below. You can see Manners was quicker on lap 7 and lap 5. Veman on lap 4, 6 and 8. So it seems to be a 2-2-2 for Veman here, and he seems to be a little bit quicker once more. Manners is slowly closing in behind him into into Westfield we go. Sorry, dropping down the hill now into Dingledale through the blind right-hander at the top of the hill. On the brakes is Veman in front. He carried a lot more brakes last time around than he did that time around. His brake pedal application was a little bit shorter and he didn't quite carry as much. So let's see what the lap times come out here as well and see how Veman and Manners is getting on. Manners in that BMW, Veman in the Porsche. It's Porsche, Merc, Porsche BMW with the back of Crowther. So let's see what these guys will do as they go over the line. Veman goes over now, 1:29.846, his fastest lap. Manners with a 1:38.76 there. Both setting their fastest laps of the race that time around. Manners isn't over yet. He's not given up just yet.
No, we are effectively, I would say, probably more than likely on the final lap here at Brands Hatch GP before we head into the 45-minute feature race, which will be 50% fuel for all competitors, which means, folks, there is going to be a mandatory pit stop phase happening in race 2 tonight here on round 5, as we are riding on board with Rachel Hoff, who has, you know what, we have to give her credit where credit is due. She, no matter where she's ended up, the Triple P Aston Martin, the number 44, she's still soldiering on, and that's what I love to see, that people, no matter what your skill level is, if you want to join a JPB series such as the Clio Cups or the GT4s, you're more than welcome to do so.
Yeah, no skill cap, no iRating cap. You can come along. We have got Pro-Ams in pretty much all the series. TCR's on Friday. There's Pro-Ams as well. And now we are coming around the final corner. I believe it was really close, but I think Simnor is going to take the checkered flag here as well. Richard Simnor takes the victory in race 1. What's going to happen with Ian Manners, Einstein, Wienman here as well? It looks like Wienman is going to hang on to that 4th place. Gavin Petty getting the 3rd. Derek Craver couldn't get past Chris Needham towards the end. What about Danny Weston? He lost a place to his brother there as well. Weston is in ninth but wins the AMS overall. Chris Barnes and Chris Evans from the Triple P Racing there further back. Rob Williams got a great 2nd place here in the AMS as well, so big shout out to Rob. And then Stuart Rice still chasing down Stefan Millis.
Right up until the checkered. It has been a pretty interesting battle between the two, but the McLaren is it going to be on top? Oh, well, Rice looks to the inside. Mellis gets it by 5/100ths at the checkered. Oh, that was fast and furious. That was typical last gasp coming out of Clark Curve. Stuart Rice, if he was a little bit closer, he might have put Mellis to the checkered.
He might have done that there as well, but let's bring you up at the race results from Heat 1. Richard Simnor is your winner with Mikey Pollard in 2nd and Gavin Petty with a great 3rd there on his return. Stein Beeman in 4th, Ian Manners 5th, Chris Needham in 6th and Derek Craver 7th with Tom Weston in 8th. Just got past his brother Danny Weston who took the victory in the AMS. Paddy Faulkner, Arnold Chagnon. Then we've got Rob Williams in the AMS in 12th, Chris Evans 13th and Chris Barnes is a Triple P Racing AMG, AMR and AMG there, 12th, 13th and 14th. Richard White in 15th, Toro Oromets in 16th, and we saw the problems that he had, of course. Stephen Mellis, Stuart Rice, Stuart Gibbons and Rachel Hoff in 20th place there as well. Great little battle. Big development to go into now because the 45 with a pit stop.
And that's the biggest thing, folks, what we have seen all the way through this 2nd season of the JPB GT4 Championship here at Brands Hatch. Strategy is again going to play a factor. We've got a 45-minute race with a mandatory pit stop. Every single one of the drivers will start at 50% fuel level. And very much the case here at Brands Hatch. It's one of the shortest pit lanes that we'll have. But of course, that might be the case, James, where we might see a few drivers looking for the undercut, like we saw with Wienman back at Zandvoort just a week ago, didn't we?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things they've got to, try. I think, you can go for a race and you could not make the decision on what you're going to do, right? You might have a spotter or an engineer or whatever, but there are times when these drivers are driving on their own, and I know a lot of these are. You got to make a choice. Do you go in? But it depends. I think there's so many things on a pit stop, right? It's whether or not you're stuck behind the same car for ages. It's whether or not you're stuck behind traffic who are slower than you. It's whether or not you're going to make it to the end. If you go in a little bit earlier, are you going to get your 50% and are you going to make it to the end? There's so many things involved that I think people just need to really think about what they're doing. And it's been close with a couple of guys with fuel who are pitted a little bit early this season. So we'll have to see how it works out.
But also the fact that, just like Zandvoort last time around, we definitely saw that overtaking was at a premium, especially at Zandvoort, coming down out of the Ari Lyndike corner and then heading into Tarzan. The same is going to be true here. Like I said earlier on at the top of the show, James, that we've only got a small medium of overtaking opportunities. I mean, Druids, if you can throw it high and wide to the outside and get the cut back through into Graham Hill and pass them on the inside heading into on the outside going into the left-hander. Then from Surtees down to Hawthorne Bend using Pilgrim's Drop. We have seen a few drivers go very wide coming out of Westfields into Sheens. We have seen moments, Chris Barnes, for instance, having a big old off going through out of Westfields and heading down towards Dingledale, but he kept it out of the barriers, held the brakes. Clearways and Clark Curve, they're going to be pushing 120 miles an hour, dropping it down to 4th gear through Clark Curve at about 100 miles an hour, and they're going to top out before they hit the brakes and go down to 4th at Paddock Hill Bend at 100 miles an hour. That is where you can really take advantage of some unforced errors. So, folks, also, nice little comment from Phil across the pond. That's why I prefer my racing on JPB. thumbs up in both our cases there. Well said, good sir. We love the fact that you're back with us at pretty much every single broadcast that we have. About a minute away from the end of the warm-up. And also, one of the other things that we've seen is the fact that it does take two to tango. Unfortunately, Stuart Gibbons was one of those instigators at the far part of the circuit. I think it was going through Westfield towards the end of the race. With I'm trying to remember. I think it was Chris Evans.
No, Stuart Rice. Yeah, you come into contact with Stuart Rice. Now, the interesting thing about that, Alex, is Stuart Rice has actually come out and said it wasn't his race, and then he's braked too early, sending Gobo into the back of me. So, you know. I think combined, Gibbo's come out and said, no worries, it was an accident. You know, I think that's more of a deemed as between the drivers. They've come out and said it was a racing incident. Rice come out and said he braked too early. Gibbo said, fair point, it was an accident, no malice.
Well, exactly. And that's how a lot of our, pretty much all of our competitors here at JPB, when they come into the leagues, whether it's the Clio Cup, of course, we've got the TCR Americas starting on Friday, haven't we, James? That's something I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, we've got round 2 for Laguna. So, but here's the grid, buddy, for race 2.
So, on pole position, having won the sprint earlier on, it's Richard Simnor, joined by Mike Pollard on the front row. Gavin Petty, the best of the other brands apart from Porsche and the Merc for PDR, starts on the inside of row 2. He'll have Stein Wienman alongside him for good measure. Ian Manners and Chris Needham, that's row 3. Derek Crowther and Tom Weston complete the top 4 rows, with Danny Weston leading the AMs in 9th ahead of Paddy Faulkner, who was running P4 in the earlier race, until drama fell his way coming out of Graham Hill Bend and being collected by Stein Wienman, who was with a damaged vehicle up until the end of the race. Arnaud Chanonnier and Robert Williams. It's a double bubble on the Mercs for row 6. Then we've got Christopher Evans and Chris Barnes, Aston Martin and Mercedes, Richard White, Tauno Oromets, Stefan Mellis in the Soul, McLaren, Stuart Rice, Stuart Gibbons, and Rachel Hoff rounding out the grid. I was also looking forward to seeing Andy Jones, but Andy Jones also not here tonight, but they are on their formation lap of this just shy of 2.5 mile circuit, which will also host the upcoming final round of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship with Tom Ingram and Ash Sutton going for another title respectively, with Tingram being the defending champion. But we want you to concentrate on what's going on tonight, folks. So, James, Simnor again is in the prime position. We saw it at Zandvoort. We've seen it once again tonight that he's been at the front end of the grid. He's held everyone back, and then he's bolted like a scalded cat on a hot tin roof, isn't he?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. He waits for the end of the line just to start coming into Clark, and then he's gone. Now, the interesting thing about this is at the moment, there was a massive holdback off as it come off the line, and you can see the gap that's opened up with Simnor, Pollard, and Petty. Now, from Petty's point of view, he doesn't have to wait for Pollard. Simnor is the lead car. He can go and put it up behind Simnor if he wants to. Pollard's then got to bring his car along because there was that gap developing. And if they did leave it too long, Simnor would already be off. If the pace car wasn't there, for instance, now, and that was happening in Clark, Simnor would have been gone. So they've got to keep it tight. And if I was Gavin Petty, I would be sitting behind as close as I could legally get to Simnor without actually making contact, because when Simnor's going to bolt, he slows them down, he waits for the pace car, he just starts hitting Clark, and he's gone.
Yep, field now making its way out of Sheen Curve and into Stirlings as we get ourselves steeled and ready for 45 minutes of racing action with the mandatory pit stop here at Brands Hatch GP for round 5, the halfway point of the second season of the JPB GT4 Championship in the Garden of England. The Porsche pace car will then make its way into pit lane. It's going to dive to the right-hand side, and look at Simnor. He's already bolted. Pollard has gone with him. Petty is pulling alongside Wienman and keeping ahead of the Dutchman for the moment, but line astern as Wienman has managed to get through. Red lights on the gantry, and it's the 1, 2, 3. Make that 4 Porsches in a row as the lights are out, and there is one of the other cars. I think that might be, Petty's got his hands full with another Porsche behind him. That's Chris Needham. And Simnor leads them into juries for the first time. Needham up the inside. Is he going to get through? I don't think Petty's going to let that slide. He doesn't. He gets back through on the dip down into Graham Hill Bend. And then there is Ian Manners breathing down the back exhaust pipes of Chris Needham, who again was looking to stick his nose up the inside of Gavin Petty going through into Surtees as the leaders make their way down. Pilgrims drop a little bit further back. We've got a bit of a side-by-side, possibly between Tom Weston and Derek Crowther. That's for 7th on the road. As Petty, I think, is giving Veenman something to think about into Hawthorne Bend. But at the moment, James, Crowther's trying to make a surprise on Tom Weston. He might get him through Westfield on the run down to Dingle Dell. There's Danny Weston, who's just gone off the track as we've had a big old off, and that is on Sean Onyea.
Yeah, Sean Onyea off. I think everybody managed to avoid him. No, I don't think he was completely on his own on that one. That start was blissfully interesting, and it was interesting because when we thought Simner bolted, he ran and then slowed everybody back up again. That, of course, put Gavin Petty onto the grass there on the right-hand side, and then by the time Simner had gone, Petty's missed it. He was miles behind. You know what I mean? He was late to a party. Everybody's come, drunk all the beer, and Petty turned up holding water out the tap. So unfortunately for Gavin Petty, he completely missed that move by Simnor. Simnor went and then he slowed everybody back down, because when we said, or when you said there, Alex, he's bolted, he's gone, he had, but then he backed it off. He knew he was going to be too far ahead of the pace car, so he had to back it off. And then, of course, when he backed it off, Gavin Petty got stuck, nowhere to go, missed the start. And Petty, unfortunately, now chasing Beeman again, but he's 1.7 seconds. And this is Danny Weston, Chris Barnes, Derek Crowther, Tordo Oromets, all for the AM lead at the moment.
Yeah, Paddy Faulkner managed to get through on Crowther at the far part of the circuit. I think it might have been going through into through Westfield and into Sheen Curve. Danny Weston attempting to try and make it 3 wide into Hawthorns. That never goes well unless your name is Mike Rockenfeller. Back in 2018 at DTM, he pulled a pearl right round the outside of 2 other cars. One of it, I think, included Rene Rast. Danny Weston goes a little bit wide coming out of Westfield into Dingle Dell. He's right on the coattails of Chris Barnes. Barnes has now got past Crowther. And he's gone round the outside of him at Sterling's. And so did Danny Weston. They both got off track. Barnes has had a tank slapper. He kept a hold of it, though.
Yeah, he did at a moment there as well. Crowther made a mistake coming out of Dingle Dell. He had to hit the brakes on that one. Chris Barnes coming in now as well. Took that position away. And then Barnesy got it all wrong coming out of Sterling's, with Weston getting it all wrong behind him as well. So Crowther at the moment here holding with Barnes, Weston, Oromets, who swapped side by side. Down through Paddock Hill they go, and on that run up into Druids. Who's going to get it? Oromets on the right. Here comes
Chris Evans, dive bombs and into the gravel goes the Aston Martin. That is Derek Crowther, I think I've just seen drop off the face of a cliff. He's lost a big odd amount of points. There was also another car. That might have been Crowther when he went off. But yeah, Christopher Evans tried to make it 3 wide up the inside of Danny Weston and Tano Oromets, and just got his braking zone completely a bit later than what he anticipated for that one. He had a big old lick of speed coming up the hill.
Yeah, I saw him on his lights. It looked like he was going to make a move, but it's all right sending it. But call blimey, you don't have to rack up air miles in the process. You know what I mean? He didn't send it by Royal Mail. He went by FedEx Airline. And unfortunately, he sent him too far there for old Chris Evans. I'm not quite sure what he was up to. I get he was frustrated, and I get he wanted to make the move. But boy, oh boy, if you're going to make the move, at least get it to stop. And unfortunately for Evans, it was see you later and into the gravel around the outside of Druids. I've got to praise him for trying there, Alex, but call blimey, he was a long way away.
That could have been a bit nastier that if Danny Weston had actually turned in on him, because that would have been a 3-car incident, and that would have not been nice with 3 cars in the kitty litter at the top of the hill at Druids. But in the meantime, Steen Venman has been closing in on Mikey Pollard. Gap now down to about 4.5 tenths. And folks, we are only 5 minutes into this feature race. We've still got a mandatory pit stop to go. All drivers started with 50% of fuel in the tank, which means at some point, probably within, I would say, 15 to 20 minutes to go. That's when you're going to see a lot of the pit stops happening, I think, James.
Yeah, I think it generally is. Now, I want to pick up on one of the men in the AMS. Rob,
that was not nice.
Was that Stuart Rice, his teammate, that helped him go round here? It was.
Mr. Williams was spinning around more times than Carly Minogue at that point.
I think I think it was an interesting one because Williams did. I'm not going to give it all to Rice, right? Normally I dump a load of blame, but if you watch Williams' Merc, he gets a little bit of a slapper there, and then unfortunately Rice just has nowhere. I don't know if he has nowhere to go or doesn't use a brake. I'm not entirely sure what the situation is. It's one of them situations where the front driver will always blame the back driver, but the back driver will blame the front driver for getting a tank slapper on. So it's a tough one. But, at the moment, we've got the likes of Tom Weston chasing down Chris Needham. So who's to blame? Let us know, chat. Let me know who you think there as well. I'm sure Williams will blame Rice, and Rice will blame Williams.
It'll be he said sort of argument on that one, to be honest with you. But unlike with what you discussed earlier on in the warm-up between the two races, reference Gibbons and Rice as well for that incident later on in the sprint. It'll be a case of they'll have to. All I'm going to say is they need to discuss it between themselves, and if one wants to send a protest in, they can do. They can do that post-race. That's one of the things we do here at JPB. But coming up to 38 minutes still to go. Simnor leads by nearly 1.4 seconds ahead of Pollard. Veeman now with the fastest up the race, 1 minute 29.751. He's about 1.4 seconds up the road from Gavin Petty. Ian Manners and Chris Needham a little bit further back. Mike Pollard, watch your track limits a little bit. I've just seen you've had an off track there. Tano Odomets has made 5 positions. So is Chris Barnes, and they're both respectively 11th and 9th. So is Stuart Rice, who's now up into 13th position, even though Ixnay on the X-ray of Robert Williams going left after a little bit of a touch between the pair, let's say.
I think that's going to be a kite one. Now, the interesting thing about that as well, I just checked, and both men are in the same voice chat. They're both in Triple P. So I'm wondering what the language is currently like there as well. Alan Luff says he blames both. Toxic Munchkin, of course, is Jamie Dengle. Pretty sure if someone hits you from behind, it's their fault. Alan's come back with can't always react in time if somebody has a tank slapper. So I think that's where we come into the 6 for 1, half a dozen of the other situation. As I said, Rice will blame Williams.
Indeed.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? They're going to blame each other. But yeah, you could have slowed down. It wasn't really a fast corner coming out of here either, around 30s. So maybe he could have reacted. I don't really know. At the end of the day, we'll leave, I think it's Evans or Barnes, the team manager. We'll let them two argue that out about who went where. I know Williams is back. The problem is they are literally neck and neck in the standings for that top 5. There's only 3 points behind between Rice and Williams, and of course Williams getting a second in the sprint race has then put Rice on edge. So yeah, I don't know. I'm going to let the owners sort that one out, I think, on that one, Alex.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Toxic Munchkin goes, they have eyes, you use common sense to lift. Well, when you have a tank slapper in front of somebody, what is the person behind you going to do? They've got no time to actually react unless they have got the 9 lives of a cat. Piercy has just come on going, swear Barnes has raced 2 master. Sprint race, something always goes wrong. Feature ends up on my bumper. This race, sprint had an issue. Race 2, leading AMS. Well said, Piercy. And Chris Barnes is going to have to watch out for Danny Weston, who's about 0.8 of a second behind him. Faulkner, in the meantime, is up to 7th, having got past Tom Weston, and is now only 0.8 off Chris Needham.
Yeah, Barnesy, Faulkner there getting clear in Weston on lap 7. We can have a look. Weston looked like he got a bit of a slow run out of Paddock Hill, and then Faulkner does say, thank you very much, I'm going to take that and have that inside line. However, from Weston's point of view, he's not giving up Now, the interesting thing as well, obviously I talked to Tom Weston outside of the series, and he's an IRL friend. You know, he's been feeling good in the Porsche. He's been doing some practice. He has taken up the mantle in the TCRs, right, for Performance Link.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing he said it's almost like a roles reverse with Mikey Pollard. Pollard is quick in the GT4s, but he's not exceptionally quick in the TCRs, where Weston, as he, by his own admission, mind you, this isn't me putting words in his mouth, says I'm not great in the GT4s, but boy, oh boy, is he a bit swift in the TCRs. So just keep an eye on Tom Weston in the TCRs area. I think he might give a few people a little bit of a shock this season on how he gets on. First time in a front-wheel drive car. Jamie Dengle, when's season 3 kicking off? Well, we are looking at dates on that one, sir. There will be a season 3. Now, it's whether or not we look at skipping out 3 or 4 weeks on that run to Christmas because of the way that this finishes and the way the schedule is. We do finish not far off the Christmas run-in, so it's whether or not we look at starting again after Christmas, letting everybody get the Christmas presents out the way and all of that gets settled down from your turkey and whatever else, because the last thing people are going to want to worry about coming into early December is racing. So week 13's on the 7th of December. The last round here will finish round about the middle of November. So it's what we do after that, I think, at the moment. I don't really know what's best. It's something I'll chat to the admins about.
Yeah, our final round is actually on the 8th.
Yeah.
Obviously, for those remembering, Wednesday nights, normally for Christmas, is late night shopping. So there might be a few people that might decide, well, I want to get Christmas presents and everything sorted out of the way quick. So they'll take advantage of those late night openings for Wednesday nights. But with 33 minutes to go, still battles happening. Paddy Faulkner has closed to within a 10th and a half, and now he's really jumping all over the back of the number 7, coming out of Clark Curve and heading down into Paddock Hill Bend. Up the inside he goes. Oh, Needham shuts him off, and Faulkner decides to send it. The side-by-side coming up the Hellwood Hill in towards Druid. That is going to be another position gained, is it, for Paddy Faulkner? Yes, it is. Is that going to open the door for Tom Weston? It might do. No, it doesn't. And Needham runs wide. Weston on his back bumper. Faulkner through for P6.
Yeah, Faulkner there took an opportunity. He almost went in down through Paddock Hill. He got his nose chopped off faster than Kim Kardashian, and then he took advantage of it there as well, because Needham ran a little bit wide down through Pilgrim's Rise, and that allowed Faulkner to send it out the inside. Now for Tom Weston, he tried to follow Faulkner through at Druids. The door was open and Needham just managed to pull it back in as he went off a little bit of an off track on the exit as well. So for Chris Needham, he did a great job recovering that, but for Tom Weston, don't do that. Don't do that. Oh.
That was the squeeze. But Needham keeps it pinned round the outside and through into Dingledale. Needham was still ahead.
Yeah, Weston gave it to him.
Yeah, but also the fact that Needham had the cojones to keep the throttle planted down Dingledale. Now, you don't see that very, very often. And, yeah, as you said, Weston did give that back to him, which was actually the right thing to do. Weston sent it quite late, and there would have been a bit of paint swapping between the pair. And he's gone, Chris, have your position back. My bad. Alan Luth just says, first race after Christmas is going to be scary, though. Everyone trying out their new equipment that they got as presents. Yeah, especially when the force feedback is turned up to 100%.
Yes, that's the thing as well. And then we've got Dengle saying, "Is this TCRs or GT4s?" Well, look, Jamie, come on, you've been in a series as well. We do promote close racing. We aren't going to go at each other for leaning on each other. It is racing at the end of the day. We're not ballet dancers in Swan Lake here, Jamie. You know what I mean? It's not like we're watching Premier League football where they just fall over at the touch of a grass. Come on. We're racing. We've got to give it a little bit of an oomph. And I don't mind that, what Weston did there as well. He was alongside. He did have the right as well, Jamie. Come on. You know that one. And he did have the rights to go for it. Just unfortunately, he did it a little bit forcefully. But he did give it back. So, let's look on the positives, Jamie Dengle. Let's look on the positives, sir.
As Arnaud Chalonnier getting side by side down through Pilgrim's Drop in towards Hawthorns. Is he going to keep it pinned to the outside of Stuart Mellis? Yes, he is. Is the Merc going to get through? Oh, no, he doesn't! And they both go spinning around at Hawthorn bends and banging backwards into the barriers goes Chanonnier. Let's have a look at that from the helicam.
He didn't give him room.
Oh.
He did not give him room, and I'm the first to admit on that. He didn't give him room. If we go back onto the chopper, you will see the door shut from Chanonnier. Mellis was alongside.
I'm going to call that a little bit of a 50-50.
Oh, get off the fence. You get splinters in your bum.
Hey, you speak for yourself there.
Yeah, I suppose. But look, even Alan said he closed in too much. I agree. I think he shut the door a little bit early. That's allowed Weston to come through, and that's partly because Needham took a trip off the grass. Now, one of the interesting things as well is Danny Weston has also taken a trip off. That's allowed Chris Barnes to move a little bit more further forward. So from that one, it's all a little bit tight. But this Needham-Weston battle getting spicy.
Yeah, Crowther's only about 0.8 of a second behind. So yeah, this is going to be very, very crucial how they now deal with it over the next few corners. You know, we've seen it previously when Weston and Needham were banging each other's doors in at this point on the circuit, and Chris was just let through. So Tom just opened up the barn doors, but Chris Barnes is looking rather racy at the moment. He was a second quicker than Needham on that previous lap, and he's right on his coattails, heading down clearways into the right-hand sweep at about 100 miles an hour, fourth gear here at Clark Curve. Now, who's going to take the title line out of the two? It is going to be Barnes ever so slightly, but then he pulls over to the left-hand side of the circuit. A bit further back, we've got Christopher Evans.
Richard White side by side with Chris Evans. So I might have changed a little bit early there, Alex. Sorry, sir.
Oh, don't worry about that, mate. It happens. But oh well, there we go. That is going to be very, very close between the pair. But Gibbons does not have the place, or does he? He's going to keep it a little bit high and wide through Juries, try and get the cut back on Rice, and there is Stuart Gibbons, not too far behind. Well, there's another Aston Martin.
It's Evans, right? So Evans, White, and Rice.
Right. That's the thing with these dual paint schemes.
Yeah, I know. Mate, I get it as well. Don't you worry too much, because I wish they'd just make a wing mirror or something different. Give yourself racing stripes. That would do nicely as well. Barnesy and Needham, you said about Barnes looking racy. Well, he's gone at it. Now, one of the things here as well, check out the names in 9th and 10th. What do they say? They say D, Weston. They say T.
Oh, Needham's
Weston.
off.
Yeah.
Needham just went off.
Yeah, and they say D and T. That is Danny and Tom Weston. They are brothers. Can you imagine the Christmas journey off to Nurburgring next time around? Because both of these... Oh,
that's a big off for Needham. Needham was off. Oh, he got spun around. I think he got spun around by Danny, didn't he? Yeah, right front to left rear. Well, no, it's actually the front on the right rear. And Mr. Needham's lost the rear wing.
Hold on.
Oh, just having a look again. Bang. Oh. There it is. There's the contact. And that's a hard old hit for Chris Needham.
He ran across him. Bear with, right? Bear with me. Watch Needham's move on the left. There.
Yeah, I'm just looking. Yeah, it's just
right.
It's the small...
Watch. There he comes.
Okay.
Oh.
I wonder if the air's going to be blue between Danny and Chris after today. I can feel my ears burning already. And Chris is in the pit lane. No surprise. Significant back end damage on that one. Yeah, I mean that's the thing, because when you know, the biggest question would be, Danny was holding his steering wheel straight. Chris came across him and should have just kept it to the right-hand side, allowed Danny the opportunity to possibly go around the outside of him into Clark Curve. Well, it has happened. But it has also happened that someone's gone around the outside at Clark Curve and has ended up in the kitty litter and then in the barriers.
But it was the move. It was the move on that to the left-hand side, and Alan and Toxic said Needham's come across. Yeah, why move out? Keep the inside, and I agree. I don't know if that was a lack of awareness from Needham's point of view. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not going to say too much because obviously Chris might come back at me and be like, rah, 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 you know, all DMs directed to I don't know, somebody else apart from me. But I got a funny feeling from
Zach Sweeney.
Yeah, that dude. Direct him to Zach. Danny Weston there, I think, was a bit of an innocent party, Alex. I've got to be honest. I think it was more Chris Needham making that left-hand move that caused that, and I didn't get it. I didn't get why he did it. But he is chasing down his brother, so if they make contact, well, God help Christmas in the Western household.
Yeah, they won't be known as Danny and Tom anymore. They'll be known as Danger and Trouble. Which one's caused the danger and which one's become trouble? That's the big question here. But
Tom's missed
Danny,
both apexes.
careful.
He missed both, didn't he? Tom there missed apex in Hawthorne, missed the apex in... Whoa! Hello, Deck Carver.
That was that was a Danny Rick right there. I mean, it was a Derek... you can't. Well, yeah.
It was a DC, wasn't it?
Comes to Danny Rick. Yeah, no. But I mean, look at this. Just the anticipation, bang up the inside, and Weston had no answer for it. That was brilliantly done by Derek Crowther, and that's why he is so comfortable in that BMW, as you were alluding to earlier. We are very, very much going to be at half time in about 60 seconds. But yeah, Alan Luth saying, interesting line. Who, from Danny or from Derek? Well, Derek had the presence of mind and the cojones to send it through, and Danny got caught napping. End of story.
Did he get caught napping? No. I'm going to put it in perspective for Danny. Crowther's a pro. Weston's an am. Did he see Crowther coming and thought, no, I'm just not going to go there, because he'd already been involved in a little bit of a fracas with Chris Needham. So did he see him coming and left the door open? Because let's face it, the right-hander at the top of the hill here off Dingle Dell is not the most side-by-side corner, Alex. I've seen many people off in the grass and many people still torpedoing across the grass. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen since the iRacing depth upgrade to the grass area, but from Crowther's point of view, that could have been a lot worse than it was, and I kind of think he might have been a little bit lucky that Danny Weston saw him coming.
Right, okay, first pit stop's just happened. Robert Williams has been in the pits and so has Chris Needham. They both have been in the pits. Stuart Gibbons, has been in for 90 seconds, so has the number 47.
He's had a bit of a drama. He's had a bit of a drama as Stuart Gibbons, unfortunately. Went off, came back on, went off and come back on again. So, unfortunately for Gibbo here, this would be the one. I'm not entirely sure. That's not a line that I've seen every single day.
No.
Especially,
I mean, it'd be fun if you're going to McLaren and then into Clark Curve at the Indy circuit, but we're not racing that tonight.
No.
I'm not too sure what happened for Stuart there. I mean, he went straight on, let's be honest, pretty much. So whether he's had an issue, and that can sometimes happen, folks. Alan Luth actually makes a good point. He said, looked like Danny started to slide a little bit before Derek Crowther sent it up the inside of him. Yeah, I mean, if Danny had gone a little bit wide and touched the left rear wheel on the grass, then that would have caused the back end to slip, but there is a Merc going a little bit on the slower side because it's just being lapped.
Yeah, Rob Williams obviously had that incident, didn't he, with Stuart Rice that sent him round. Williams, I think they're sensibly getting out the way. Now, he did pit on lap 14. We're on lap 16 coming on 2, so whether or not Williams now could go to the end, he's just going to have to drive the absolute living kittens out of that Mercedes and see how far he can get at the moment, because he's got a bit of a gap to make up. But this is Pollard and Wienman. They're still going. 20 minutes remaining. Probably in the next 5 to 6 minutes, Alex, is going to start being a rush on pit stops.
Yeah. Pollard goes a little bit on the defensive side. Wienman goes a little bit, doesn't even touch the curbing on the inside of Druids. To carry a little bit, maybe say an additional 2 to 3 miles an hour through Druids, but then Pollard really gets the run coming out of Graham Hill Bend. Of course, that is an off-camber corner. Now through into the sweeping left here at Surtees, and then onto the run through Pilgrim's Drop. So, yeah, I mean, Pollard just seems to have a little bit more traction where he needs it. Pulls to the right-hand side. The circuit expands the gap to about nearly 9/10 over Wienman.
He carried some speed then, Alex, didn't he?
He did.
To go from 2 tenths now out to 1.1. Pollard's got all of a sudden he's like a Nos Nitros car here, and it has gone a little bit more speedy. That gap to Simnor is coming down, well, from 2 seconds not long ago to 1.6. So I don't know what Pollard's found. Maybe he's found a penny and all day long he'll have good luck or something, and it was under his rig. But whatever he's found, he's making a beeline here at the moment for Simnor.
You said Magic Pebble last week in the post-race interview.
Richard Simnor.
Maybe
it was.
There we go.
Yeah.
Mike Pollard probably found it this week.
Yeah, Simnor was saying about coming out of Zandvoort, wasn't it? And but there was an exit out of one of the corners. I can't remember which one it was. I think it might have been one of the last ones, or towards that back end.
Last quarter,
and Simnor said he's found a magic pebble that apparently did weird and wonderful things with the car. Now, we're not entirely sure whether or not Simnor was, I don't know, drinking. I'm not sure. But whatever it was, at the end of the day, Barnsley and Evans has made their pit stops as well. But Pollard here at the moment brought it down to 1.4 from 1.6. He's pulling out chunks at the moment over Simnor. So Pollard's, 6 tenths that lap alone. 6 tenths. That's huge.
Yeah, he's definitely got the whack behind him in that Porsche at the moment. Gap's now down to under 1.3, but he's just had a little bit of a moment. Oh, dearie me. He's literally nearly lost half that time that he's just managed to get in that last lap alone. Yeah, nearly 6. That was actually 6. Yeah, close to 6.5 tenths. He basically chomped away from Simnor's lead, but it's now gone back up to 1.5. So that mistake there means that Pollard has got to start doing all that work all the way. And the thing is, you've got to wonder how much fuel saving Richard Simnor is now doing. Wienman's running on 130.5, Simnor 130.4 on the previous lap. So, Simnor's just gone quicker by a tenth, so Pollard could have been on the 129.6s, maybe equalled his personal best. As we go back to the battle here, this is Tom Weston versus Derek Crowther. That BMW does look really very racy, but Weston goes into the pits.
Yeah, he kind of put a block on it. I'm not going to say Crowther was closing because we could clearly visually see that he was. Weston just decided, enough's enough, I'm going in. So Weston's in, Oromets is in as well. So there has been some pit stops happening here, and on the left-hand side you can see there, Weston 18, Oromets lap 18, Barnes and Evans 17. Can Williams and, well, Gibbo's still in, unfortunately, but can Williams on lap 14 get to the end? Are we going to 28 lap this race, or will Williams have to go in again? Will Needham need to go in again? Did he get that 12? Did he manage to get it and manage to get to the end? That's going to be the question. Or will Williams need to do some fuel saving? Rice is on his way out. Williams really... he needed to... No, he's too far back. It's too far back over Rice, Alex. I think for Williams it's more of a consolidation race compared to where he was at the beginning. He finished second in the sprint. He had a great opportunity.
Yeah, and sometimes we all know that it's racing, folks. Paddy Faulkner's getting a bit squirrely. He's just had a bit of an off track. And Ian Manners has just set his fastest lap of the race, no surprise, with about 16.25 minutes to go. 1 minute 30.165 as he goes on to what is now going to be lap 20, folks. Richard Simnor's about 25% of the way through that lap. I'm going to be interested to see what the strategy is going to be between Petty, Faulkner and Manners in comparison with the 3 Porsches up the road. Now, okay, yeah, notwithstanding that the gap covering Petty, Faulkner and Manners is about the best part of 11-12 seconds at the minute. Crowther now pits.
It's going to be here. It's going to be here with Weston, Crowther and Danny Weston, because they were neck and neck going in here, Alex. It's whether or not Danny's still stationary. Crowther's out just... Oh, no, he lost it. Weston and Barnes jumped him. Weston and Barnes. Weston went in early, took an early stop there, and jumped Crowther. Crowther, of course, we saw was on the flyer, and he did make up these positions. But for Tom Weston, he jumped Derek Crowther in the pit cycle. We did talk about the undercut, Alex. We did say that was a possibility to happen.
Danny Weston has been stationary for nearly a minute. That car, I think, has got damage. Mike Pollard is the first one to blink out of the top 8. Pollard in the pit lane. So the big question is, folks, Petty now in the pits, responds to Pollard deciding to dive in. Faulkner, what's he going to do? He stays out, goes past. Manners stays out for another lap.
Yeah.
So Richard White and Arnold Chononier. Chononier had a bit of a difficult first race, but he's managed to get himself up. Managed to get himself up to 11th at the flag. But now all this hard work that Derek Crowther has done, he's got to do it all over again.
Yeah, he has. He got jumped by Barnesy and Tom Weston. Danny Weston, I've got a funny feeling that was either damage, but he has got a fast repair, so I'll be surprised if he didn't take it, or certain Mr. Weston may have taken tyres, and that could possibly be why he's got a good more laps on to everybody else. So it'd be interesting to find out, if we can, from Danny Weston, what he actually did there as well. Was it damage and he didn't have the fast repair on, or did he take tyres and forgot to turn it off? But at the moment, Barnesy's fighting all over the back of Tom Weston here, leading the AMS at the moment as well, Chris Barnes, and is doing a stellar job. I'm not going to lie here for Barnesy. Issue in race 1. On lap 1 at Hawthorne, spun up the Merc, went round, remember, and he just missed the barrier. Yeah. But now he is absolutely flying, +6 on where he started this race, Alex. He's +6 on where he started, and he's done a great job in the process. And you can see there, he is one of the biggest gainers inside the top 10.
Top 4 now pitted. That's everyone in for a mandatory pit stop. So Simnor in, Veenman in, Faulkner in, Manners in.
Oh, Paddy's going to get him. I think Pollard's going to get him.
Oh, hang on a second. Simnor's just, Mikey Pollard's just come around. He did a just under 13-second pit stop. Did Mike Pollard, so he's pipped Veenman.
He didn't get...
Manners is in. Oh, Faulkner's pipped Manners in the pit lane, but Gavin Petty has already come through on lap 22.
Yeah.
So, you know what now? The real race for the victory, can Simnor do the double, or can Mikey Pollard, who went in the pits 1 lap earlier, was in the pit stop area for just over 1.2 seconds less, does that mean he hasn't put as much fuel in as Simnor, so he would have kept an eye on what his fuel consumption per lap would have been if he knows that if he's done this. Now, where was it we had that really great battle? And it was Pollard versus Simnor at, I think it was Road Atlanta, wasn't it? And he did the number on him there, but overtook him with about 5 minutes to go left in the race at turn 10A of all positions on the circuit.
Oh, Crowther's jump Barnes. Crowther's now after Weston here. Pollard's time's down to 6/10, and it's closing. Oh, it's just touched back out at 7, so he's lost a bit of time. But Barnesy there still leading the AMS by 12.5 seconds over Torno Oromets, who is sitting in second place. So in hindsight here for Barnesy, he doesn't have to push this one, Alex. There is no need for him to push this. Stay with these guys, pick up the pace, keep that 12-second lead. And if he does that, Barnesy's going to take the AMS. For Simnor, though, he has got the ever-looming Mikey Pollard. As he comes closer and closer, Pollard gets quicker and quicker, and we saw it towards that pit stop run. He got quicker and quicker and quicker. I've got a funny feeling this could become quite an interesting battle.
And what is the golden rule in racing? Never take out your teammate. So Mike Pollard has got to do this fair, even Stevens, on track. As I said, the funny thing is that Simnor, out of the top 3, was actually the person that was stationary in the pit box for the longest, 14.13 seconds. Pollard, 12.92. Veenman, so like halfway between them, 13.45 seconds. But he's 3.4 seconds back. We're just under 10.5 minutes to go here at round 5 of the second season of the JPB GT4 Championship here at Brands Hatch. Barnes still battling away with Crowther and Weston. Rio battling for 7th overall, covered by 9/10. Barnes in that Merc looks to try and get a move done on Crowther as they make their way through Westfield into Dingle Dell, but they're even Stevens in the gap between them at the moment, James.
Yeah, they are at the moment. The interesting thing, do you know what? I've either been blind, but I've just spotted Tom Weston's livery. If you look on the front, great. He's actually got teeth hanging down, but Crowther's now got a run. They're going to be side by side. There's the teeth hanging off Weston's car there. That looks quite interesting. Crowther's trying to go, for a better word here, Alex, high, wide and handsome around the outside of Weston. That's going to bring Barnes into it as well as they go over the line. Nearly. Crowther ahead of Weston. He's trying to get him up the inside. Oh,
that's close. They are still side by side, door handle to door handle, up Pilgrim's Rise into Druids. Could this be the opportunity for Barnes to get through? I think he might have got the job done, but Weston's going to come back at him through Graham Hill Bend. Weston keeps the inside line, and Barnes is going to get the undercut down the Cooper Straight. I think Barnes is nosing ahead into Surtees. He's earlier on the brakes. He's going to keep that inside line. Little bit of a hip check between the pair. Barnes still ahead, but they touch. It's the barrier. Front end in for Barnes, and Weston goes along for the roller coaster ride. And Derek Crowther says, "Thank you very much, boys, for that one."
No. There was no need. There was physically no need from either of these drivers. I don't get this. Oh,
yeah,
the problem is there is a gap of the front end of Weston there, mate. You can see the gap. No, that's not a great view. Oh, this might be all right. Watch the gap on the front left. There. Then there's contact. So as much as we'd love to blame either party, unfortunately, it looks like there may have a bit of an interference from iRacing system that may have just strung that together. So, yeah.
Netcode upwards, folks.
Yes, I didn't want to put it in that perspective, but yes, unfortunately, that system that deems that they may have made contact, they have made contact, and unfortunately, it took it as they did make contact. Bit of netcode, yeah, it was. The interesting thing is, though, right, is the fact that you and I both know that these drivers are going to be spitting bubbles, but you kind of almost want to grab a hold of them and say, whoa. That wasn't, you know what I mean? There was that netcode in the middle of it. So, yeah.
Up until that point when it happened, you know, they were giving each other room.
Loads.
But then... Loads of it.
Yeah.
I mean, let's look again at the replay, okay? Weston goes round to the outside. Barnes is giving him room. He's not squeezing him, and then that happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unfortunate. And Barnes has got no front bumper on it. Autometz is now gunning for the class lead in AM, and Autometz has made up 6 places.
What's to the left-hand side?
Yeah, well, there was a slight touch, but I mean,
nothing.
It's a bit of rubbing.
There wasn't anything until that moment of where Barnesy went springing across the front. And that was the problem. And, you know, unfortunately now, Barnes is still running, right? And I'll give him credit. He is still running, but he's got Tono Orometz right behind him for 6.5 minutes. No, it was Barnes, wasn't it? You got caught in that?
Yeah.
Or was it Evans who got caught in that?
Well, Chris Evans has actually been in the pits for...
No, Evans did this.
Oh!
That's what Evans did. So it was Barnes.
It was Barnes. But Barnes' previous lap to that was... He's just done a 1:31.0. So it was Barnes.
But watch all the bits.
So what's happened? Yeah. The bumper flew off.
Yeah.
I saw the bumper flew off. Big time. Because he went nose end in after the contact.
But now it's
when they came through, so which is that's the wonders of the iRacing damage.
Yeah, it's now back on.
We're speechless. on that one.
Yeah, because I think the thing is, you would sit back and go, Barnes is now driving with a damaged car, right? He hasn't pitted to take a fast repair. His last pit lane time was on lap 17. So he hasn't done that. All of that damage that we did physically see, and you could say Barnes is driving with a damaged car.
Yeah.
But he ain't. And he's not. And all he's done is brought Oromets in. That was a quite big collision, and he did lose that 12 seconds. But sort of Oromets, he must be sitting there thinking that's great, but I don't know. I'm a little bit.
Let's not try and give ourselves brain freeze, James, because we've got 4 minutes and 48 seconds to go. I mean, looking at it from this perspective, despite the incident which cost Weston the best part of about 9 seconds, Barnes the best part of nearly 15 seconds, so nearly a quarter of a minute, Oromets now has got an opportunity to get an AM class. Oromets is in AM,
yeah, he is, yeah.
So this is the battle for the AM class lead. Chris Needham has come in.
We did say that for Needham.
Yeah, so, because Needham pitted earlier on.
Yeah, he got involved, didn't he, unfortunately, with a little bit of a fracas with Danny Weston. And, of course, Needham come in, I think it was lap 12. So if Needham's had to come in, I am interested to see if this man's got to come in, because he only pitted 2 laps later when he got caught up. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Williams has got to go in 2 laps as well. But I do want to concentrate on the fact that Barnes is battling away with Oromets for the AM lead here, especially as they're coming into the last 3.5 minutes. We'll keep an eye on the leader. He's already through. He's coming up Cooper.
Mellis has just had a big old off as well. The number 54, the Belgian driver, has just had a couple of big off tracks I've just seen. And here we are through Graham Hill Bend into the left. And that is not how you take Graham Hill Bend and head onto the Cooper Straight, Stefan Mellis. I think your rallycross instincts might have got the better of you there.
Yeah, I do agree. Piercy, behave yourself. Don't wish bad in anyone, but Oromets taking this would be helpful, because obviously Piercy's fighting away with Barnesy in the championship. So, we'll forgive you for that one, Piercy. I'm not going to lie, but don't forget your drop week at the moment will be 0 because you're not here. Barnesy is going to be a bit of a larger drop week, so you might be all right. You might be all right.
Might be indeed. But we still have, folks, 2.5 minutes to the checkered. Simnor is on course for double bubble tonight here at Brands Hatch. He's leading Mikey Pollard by nearly the tune of 1.5 seconds. Stein Wienman in third. Gavin Petty, Paddy Faulkner breaking the stronghold of the Porsches. I was hoping it was going to happen here, and not as high as I was hoping. But you know what? Gavin Petty and Paddy Faulkner, they've taken some big points here tonight, which is quite crucial. I mean, yes, we know that Paddy only joined us, I think, what was it, round 4?
Yeah, Road Atlanta, I think, wasn't it?
Round three, which was Phillip Island, where he had that bit of a ding-dong with Andy Jones, who then swapped to the McLaren for Zandvoort last time around and really made good use of it. But the leaders will be on the penultimate lap, I would say, because we're 60% of the way through.
There's going to be one more.
29.
Yeah, one more, I think.
Yeah, so it's going to be one more after this. Tauno Oromet still trying to put the frighteners on to Chris Barnes in the 245 Mercedes. That is for the AM class lead. They're about 25% of the way through the lap. So Oromets has got that gap down to 0.3 of a second. It's sort of fluctuating a little bit between 0.3 and 0.5 between the 245. And Oromets is through. Oromets has got through on Barnes. That's a change for the AM class lead, but back at him goes Barnes. This is the run down in towards Pilgrim's Drop and into Hawthorns. Oromets keeps the racing line. Barnes is not letting him out of his sight. Oh, Oromets has a bit of a moment. Barnes looks to avoid into Westfields. Barnes gets through on Oromets. Retakes the AM class lead on the penultimate lap. through Westfields, down into Dingledell, and the Merc edges ahead of the BMW. My goodness me, that was nearly a Code Brown clean up on aisle 3 for Chris Barnes right there.
Oh, there is. Paddy Faulkner went wide. Paddy Faulkner went wide coming out of Pilgrim's Rise. And I've got a funny feeling he managed to get away with it because Ian Manners is there as well. But Gavin Petty's a lot more further up the road than he was not long ago. But Oromets and Barnes going to be going at it for the final lap of the race here, Alex. The final lap. The leader's on his way around Westfield. I'll keep an eye on him and we'll switch to him as he goes over the line. But at the moment here as well, Barnesy's under a little bit of pressure.
Yep, Oromets within 0.4 of a second into Druids for what is going to be the 30th and the final time. Oromets a bit closer on the apex, got to within half a car length of Barnes as they exit out of Graham Hill Bend. Oromets does not need to go wide, but he stays on the coattails of Barnes. Pulls to the right-hand side, heading into Surtees for the final time. Oromets, that's a bit too wide, but is he going to get the cut back here?
Leaders. Unfortunately, Richard Simnell's going to come over the line here, Alex.
Yep. Richard Simnell does double tonight here at Brands Hatch. Mikey Pollard takes second, third in just a few moments' time. But Oromets looking round the outside of Hawthorns. Oromets round the outside of Hawthorns on Chris Barnes. But now it's the run through the Derek Minster Straight into Westfield.
Yeah.
And there's contact between the pair. Oromets around. Oh, I'm not too sure. I think he might have turned it a bit too early. He might have turned in and cut it off for Chris Barnes. And that is Arnaud Chanonnier.
Barnes is going to let him through. They're not sure. They don't know who. Barnes is going to let Oromets through. Oromets then try to give it back. Barnes, he did let him through. He did let him. He let him back through. He waited and waited. Yeah. They had the gap, Alex, and that was a dangerous wait, but they did wait. And now Oromets looks like he's going to take it. I don't think Barnes is going to challenge him as they come over the line.
No. Taro Oromets from Estonia is he going to pick up his first class win? Barnes, he nearly had it then. Yeah. If Oromets has slowed down a little bit more and there's a flash of lights from Chris Barnes, I mean, I have to give Oromets credit where credit was due. Of all places around the outside of Hawthorns, I really want to see a replay of that, of what happened from like Hawthorns until Westfields before it all went wrong. Now here we go. We're on board with Chris Barnes. So Oromets has got round the outside of him. They're going to make the run down the Derek Minster Straight. Oh!
Give me that left front of Chris Barnes there, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's why Barnsley gave him the position back. Oromets was waiting. I mean, look, he's a car length in front and then bang! Oromets gets turned around. I think Barnes should have... Yeah, that's why Barnsley was... Again, we're going to have a look on board from Oromets. So out of Hawthorns. And now you're going to see very shortly what happens here. Gets a turnaround, and there is Barnes. He was right on his inside right, bang, slightest touch, and again from the outside, from the chase cam, you're going to see it here. Just watch. Oromets now turns in. Barnes keeps it stuck there.
Yeah,
so Barnes.
It's a really tough one, isn't it?
It is a tough one
because you're not sure where the gap's coming from.
The thing is, looking. I mean, if I'll look at it from this kind of perspective, in terms of an overtaking manoeuvre. If Barnsley was halfway alongside Oromets, I could understand it. But let's take you through the results. We'll have that discussion before we get any interviews in. But Richard Simnell takes 2 wins tonight here at the Garden of England at Brands Hatch by nearly 2.4 seconds in the feature race ahead of Mike Pollard. Stein Wienman takes P3 ahead of the leader of the opposition, let's say. And I'm not going to use political terminology right now, apart from that. Gavin Petty takes 4th ahead of Paddy Faulkner. Ian Mathers, a well-deserved 6th, having finished 5th in the sprint race. Derek Crowther started 7th, finished 7th ahead of Tom Weston. Arnaud Chanonnier, difficult first race, managed to come back to finish 9th in the feature. Tauno Oromets, I think, is that his first AM victory of the season? I think it is. And that's for a BMW. So well done to Tauno Oromets. Chris Barnes in 11th after that contra time, which we'll talk about in just a second. Stuart Rice in 12th, head of Danny Weston. Robert Williams, they round out the top 5 of the AMs. Chris Needham, dramas for him after the contact between him and Danny Weston. which we discussed earlier. Richard White, Stefan Mellis, Rachel Hoff. Then we've also got Chris Evans and Stuart Gibbons rounding out the 20 strong. But coming back to my point before we get the interviews underway, James, I think if Chris was half a car alongside Talnall, I think it was more a case of if he was halfway alongside, then Ottomets would have given him racing room. But because Ottomets was a car length in front in the approach, Ottomets I think probably had the right of way. But I'm not a steward. This is from my own personal opinion. But then did Talnall turn in a bit too early and then cause the incident himself? But we'll leave it for you folks to decide. Pierce has already given his 2 cents on it in the chat. But we'll have a look at it again. So the side-by-side coming out of Hawthorns. Okay, fair enough. Then heading down the Minter Straight, Ottomets gets the traction down in the BMW. So by halfway along the Derek Minter Straight, he's nearly a full car. He's basically a car length in front. And then he turns in.
Yeah, could be better, mate. But it was all right. It was all right. Was there not? Okay.
Unfortunately, it was just literally netcode pulled you in. But
right.
So unfortunately, that was that one, right?
Yeah. I apologise to Tom because let's face it, I'm an am. I shouldn't have been there.
Yeah. Well,
so
you shouldn't have been. You're right.
No, I shouldn't have been there. So I apologise to Tom. Yeah, unfortunate, isn't it? But I don't think I lost him any places.
No,
we were all right.
Yeah, he finished where he is, but there was netcode.
Good.
Now, Torno Automats is a different situation here, Barnsley. What's the opinion on that one from you? Because, we've got our opinion, but what's your opinion?
My opinion was it was going really well up until I hit him.
Well, that's a general opinion because obviously the races are generally going really well, Barnsley, until you do hit somebody. But what's your opinion of the incident? Because you waited for him.
Yeah, because he'd got the lead fair and square coming up to that corner, and I braked, but obviously not quite enough. And as he come across, I just clipped his back end and sent him round. So I waited, gave him the place. He wasn't going to give it to me at first, but eventually he drove off. So yeah, it's one of them things. He's happy. We've spoken, chat. So yeah, he's a brilliant driver. I love racing against him.
Do you feel you needed to give him the place?
Yeah. Look on the replay. He's ahead of me.
I am looking right now. I've got it on. Well, you can see it actually.
He's ahead of me. Look, he's clear ahead of me there. I should have backed out of it, taken my line, and followed him through. But me being me, I was like, no, I'm going to send it up the inside. He thought he was clear as well by the looks of it because he was going for the apex.
Yeah.
And it just happened. So no, give the place back. Great racing.
Okay, mate. Well,
I'm going to interject here for a second, Barnsley. But for you both, like on the last lap, still be side by side going through Hawthorns, which is one of the most difficult paces at Brands Hatch to overtake around the outside. Did you think you possibly had the run on him, but the way he carried that momentum through down Pilgrim's Drop was just absolutely mighty, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was incredible. But I thought I had him because obviously I'm on the outside. I can only quickly glance across because I'm in VR. I'm watching what I'm doing, but I thought I got him, and then boom, he was back there, and it was like, what? And it was just like, okay. And then we went tight up through there, And I thought, nah, keep going. And contact, unfortunately, but it was good fun. That's what racing's about.
It is at the end of the day, and I fully agree with you there as well. What was going on the last corner? Because it looked like at one point neither of you wanted to be in front of each other.
No, he was backing off, and I was like, no, you take it. It's yours. You've earned that. You've done it. It's yours. You deserve it. So I see him ease off, so I was already on the easing off myself. I was like, no, if he slows down too much, I'll push him.
Yeah, I did see. We did see. That's one of the things we did discuss. But Barty, thanks so much for joining us there, Bad. Great racing overall. Anyone you want to shout out before I let you go?
I'd like to shout out Toro, because fantastic racing there. Tom Weston again. Sorry, mate, but it was good fun. Everyone, Blades, Triple P, Auto Bead. Yeah, you guys, fantastic job as always. Look forward to next week.
Awesome stuff. Well, Barty, thanks so much for joining us, Bad, and we'll have a chat next week.
Cheers, mate. See you later. Bye-bye.
Right, I want to have a chat with Stuart Rice, who did finish third in the AMS here as well. Was involved in an incident with a teammate, Mr. Rice. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm assuming you're talking about the incident with Mr. Williams.
I am.
Because I still feel slightly bad about that. Yeah, I've got my view on what happened in it. I apologise to him instantly at the time. But I just think he lost the back end. I put my foot down too early and didn't react fast enough. It's sort of a mix of that. I'm pretty certain.
Yeah, you went on to take third in the AMS overall this time. You two, obviously, it probably makes it a little bit worse that you two are both involved in the same championship and you're both literally neck and neck with each other. You know, he took second in the first one. You've taken third in the second one. That's going to bring you really close to each other here. I know there's a little bit of inter-team rivalry. So what do you think your chances are? Because you've seen Toro Oromets has gone and taken a win tonight in the AMS after contact with Barnes. It's going to be tough to get that third and fourth, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I think I'm not sure on my chances. I just generally take every race as it comes because sometimes I can be a little bit shaky on reliability in an actual race, just purely due to occasionally just putting my foot down too hard. I'm still trying to learn how to get over a heavy accelerator foot. I just seem to have a lead foot for that. But yeah, I mean, going forward, there's some tracks I really am looking forward to, so it is going to be interesting.
It definitely is, Mr. Rice. I will say it's going to be an interesting run between you guys in that AMS. Stuart, thanks so much for joining us there, bud. Anyone you want to shout out before I let you go?
As per usual, Triple P guys, just all genuinely great teammates.
Awesome stuff. Well, Stuart, thanks so much for joining us there, bud, and we'll look forward to catching up with you soon, no doubt.
Thank you very much.
Right, so now we're going to have a chat with the man from AIRaceSummaries.com, Tracy Team. He took 2 second places, almost jumped his teammate coming out the pits there as well. He was looking quicker through the end of the race. Let's have a chat with him now and welcome in the one, the only, Mr. Mikey Pollard. Good evening, Mikey. How are you, sir?
Good evening, James. Very well, thank you. Thanks for that introduction.
No worries. It was good, wasn't it? Do you like it?
It was, yeah, lovely. Pick me up, James.
Yeah, why not? I play poker with you. You take my money, so I've got to try and pick you up somewhere, you know what I mean? Because clearly I'm rubbish at poker here, Mikey. Look, at the end of the day,
you really played well.
Yeah, we had fun. At the end of the day, bud, 2 second places, you know, keeps you near rich, but it's going to be a tough one.
It keeps me close. Yeah, it keeps me close enough, but I'm a little bit disappointed. I put a lot of effort into the fuel saving there and coming into the pits early, avoiding the traffic, trying to jump him. And at the end of the day, was still about half a second behind him, wasn't I? And then in my efforts to, try and fashion a move, I overheated my tyres and then dropped back a bit and had to settle for second. But still an enjoyable evening. And yeah, I'll take 2 second places. The title fight is still alive.
It is. You only come into this 7 points behind him, so it's not dramatic, right? We're not sitting here thinking, oh, it's all Richard Simnor's already. It's his race. It's his race. We got some interesting circuits coming up. We're going to go to Magny Core next week. What are you looking forward to? We've got Magny Core, Suzuka, Road America, and we're finishing on Sebring. Where's your strong ones, Mikey?
And are we going back to Nurburgring? Are we putting that on the end?
Yes.
You missed that, do you remember?
Yeah, Nurburgring's going on the end as well.
So, Nurburgring, I think I'll be strong. I go well there. Magny Core I like. I haven't driven it in a GT4 yet, but we'll see how the pace is next week. And Road America, I think we all like Road America, to be honest, don't we?
Yeah.
That should be a good battle. But I need to win one, don't I? I need to get another win under my belt and keep the battle going until late in the season so we can have some fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully we can win one next week.
Absolutely, Mikey. Well, good luck on that one, bud. I think you're going to start a job and it'll be interesting to see how this season turns out. Anyone you want to shout out, Mikey, before I let you go?
No shout-outs tonight, James. Thanks a lot, mate.
Oh, okay, mate. Well, clearly nobody's helped Mikey Pollard this week, so tough. And if anybody did, well, we don't want you to know. So there we go. Mikey. See you later, mate.
See you later, mate. Cheers.
Right,
that's the best one I've heard. Yeah, nobody, not tonight.
Yeah, not tonight. I'm just not feeling it. He didn't even shout out his teammates, did Mikey Pollard? He just went, no, not tonight. But let's have a chat with a man that still cements his place at the top of the standings. He's come in with a double victory. He's managed to do it here as well, and he's got it under his belt. He is the man, the myth, the one they only see from behind, Mr. Richard Simnar. Good evening to you, sir.
That's certainly a very interesting description.
Hey,
yes,
look, I could just say, if you don't want it, mate, I could just go, yeah, let's welcome in Rich. You know
are you doing that? Are you doing that thing again? Are you doing that thing where you're trying to put people off?
No, I gave
No, he's
Mikey.
just making me giggle, Richard. That's all he's doing.
Yeah, I gave Mikey a big up before he come in here as well. I gave all of them a big up.
I heard the Clio commentary. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, don't blame me for that one. You, no, not responsible for it.
I'm going to leave the room if you keep on bickering like this.
I'll tell you what, he'll be bloody divorced by the end of this interview. I can tell you that much. Right, Rich. Let's get back to what we were originally talking about before you start bringing up my past commentary exploits. Listen, double victory, cement your place at the top of the standings. Pollard's come out and said he needs to win one out of the remaining races to give you a little bit of a challenge. What do you think?
Yes, that's what he probably does need to do, yes.
Okay, good talk. Right, Rich, talk about ending it. Right, Rich, thanks very much for joining us. No,
to be honest, like it's a challenge every week. We do a lot of practice. We are very, very similar in pace. Myself, Mikey, and Stein. It's always a big question mark who's going to come out on top. And I think with this one, we just noticed in practice that I was sort of getting a bit of an edge on the two of them, and it kind of played out in the race. I mean, there's not too much to say other than, it's just a lot of hard graft and hard practice in the week to make sure that the consistency's there. And yeah, it just came together quite nicely for today. I actually thought Mikey was going to mount a big old challenge at the end, but I think he made a couple of mistakes and overheated his tyres.
Yeah, he did.
So it didn't play out. But, it could have gone the other way, and we could have been, ducking and weaving into turn 1 or 2 or whatever. So, we'll try and get a better show next time around.
Yeah, did you worry that Mikey was going to jump you in the pits? Because he wasn't looking strong on that undercut.
So a lot of our practice has been working out our pit strategies. Mikey played it through correctly. I chickened out. So that's why you got a bit closer in the pits. I put a couple of litres in extra. In the end, I had way too much fuel. So, yeah. But then I had a couple of seconds to play with. So, I was like, let's just play it safe. Let's not muck about and just get to the end. And yeah, if I had to push, I knew that I would be in a better position to push with more fuel. Then he would have been a lot more marginal. So in the end, I don't think it was that much of a problem for him. So yeah, he would have been pushing to the end as well. There we go.
All right, Bob. Well done. Looking forward to this fight to carry on. Mr. Richard Simnar, would you like to shout out anybody this week?
I'd like to shout out Andy Jones because you probably haven't mentioned him on the broadcast.
Yeah, we did. We said he didn't show up.
Well, he's having a lovely time in Scotland.
Nice. Well, he didn't, did he? And, you know, he wasn't here. That's what we noticed. That's what Alex said anyway. I'm going to blame Alex. Alex said
I
it.
mentioned, because there was two McLarens on the grid at Zandvoort, and Andy had switched from the Aston to the McLaren alongside with Stefan Mellis. So we were wondering where he was, and then Paddy Faulkner decided to bring the Aston Martin to the masses and had a bit of a drama. Quick question from my side, Richard. Did anyone find the magic pebble this week?
There is one. It was not touched, so it's okay. But it's more of a magic bag of sand if you go into the gravel at Paddock Hill. So it's a lot of ballast. Let's put it that way. If you touch that.
You two in that blinking magic pebble, I tell you.
It's real. Look, this talker's going to get... Look, if we get Mikey in, I might have to ask him the question next time as well. You never know, do you?
Oh,
they were all behind it. They were all behind it until I mentioned it here. And then they were like, no, we don't believe you. It doesn't exist. We're like, shut up.
Well, there you go. Richard, good job, buddy. Did you shout out anyone, or did I just miss that?
I did. I shouted out your favourite driver.
Yeah, Andy Jones. Well done, Rich. Anyway, take care, buddy. I look forward to having a chat and seeing how this develops as the season goes on.
All right, bye.
Bye. Well, there you go, Alex. Very interesting interviews, I've got to be honest. But overall, a great night of racing. I think, you know, both me and you thoroughly enjoyed ourselves as well. So bring on next week. That's all I can say, really.
Yeah, indeed. Manicourt Grand Prix circuit. A circuit that really doesn't get shown a lot, but I'm really glad it's on the calendar. Also, for you racing fans out there, you want to know what's coming up on JPB over the next few days? Well, would you like me to fill them in, Mr. Parfitt?
Yeah, go for your life. Go for your life, dear sir.
Well, we've got 3 broadcasts tomorrow night. We've got the Sim Racing Collective GT3 Series Season 6 Round 2 at the Nurburgring. We've also got Evolution Sim Racing Season 2 Round 2 at Spa. And along with that, we've got the SR10 Radicals Radical Race Series Season 4 Round 4 at Road America. And then we get the Round 2 of the JPB TCR American Tour Championship underway. Round 2 at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. And then, of course, everyone's favourite single-seater championship here on JPB, yours and mine included. James, IGP Fun, Formula 3, Season 4, Round 4, live from Road Atlanta on Sunday evening.
Yeah, absolutely as well. Some more great racing coming up here as well. So as always, like, subscribe, turn on the bells. Don't want to miss any of the action. But I think, Alex, that's probably going to wrap it up for tonight. I believe we've had a good old chat throughout these races. But I think it's time we both, at our age, went to bed because it's, you know, getting late. 9:45 at night, Alex.
Past our bedtime.
Yeah, past our bedtime.
Night notes.
Good night. So, from myself here up in the booth, I've been James Parfitt alongside Alex Goldschmidt. You take care. Have a great week. And you never know, we might see you on a track sometime. Good night.